The observation deck buzzed with tension as Earth's delegation stood before the grand semicircle of the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Day tried to maintain composure while 17 alien species, each represented by beings of wildly different forms, regarded the humans with thinly veiled disdain. The massive chamber, carved from a single asteroid and orbiting the neutral star Proxima Centauri, sparkled with bioluminescent crystals that cast an eerie blue glow across the proceedings. "The human petition for full membership rights is denied," announced Grand Councillor Zith, a tall, willowy being whose translucent skin revealed the slow pulse of multiple hearts. "Earth may continue its probationary status for another 50 cycles." Day stepped forward, her voice steady despite the crushing disappointment. "Councillor, with respect, Earth has met every requirement. Our terraforming assistance on Mars colony proved our environmental engineering capabilities. Our medical teams have helped contain 3 interstellar plagues. What more must we demonstrate?" A ripple of discomfort moved through the assembled aliens. A squat representative from the Toran Collective gurgled something that the translator rendered as, "They question everything, most unseemly." "The Council's decision is final," Zith replied, compound eyes flickering with annoyance. "Humans remain too unpredictable. Your species still resolves conflicts through aggression. Your emotions override logic. These are not traits welcomed in full Council members." Director Kim, standing behind Day, noticed how several Council members exchanged meaningful glances. Something felt wrong about this dismissal. It seemed rehearsed, predetermined. As Earth's chief intelligence officer, he had learned to trust his instincts. The Earth delegation was escorted from the chambers by hovering security drones, their disappointment palpable. Aboard their ship, the Harmony, Kim shared his concerns. With Day and Admiral Ryu, "They fear us," Ryu said simply, his weathered face solemn under the ship's lighting. "Not what we've done, what we might do." 3 days later, as the Harmony approached the Jupiter checkpoint for the final leg home, Communications Officer Seo burst onto the bridge, his face ashen. Multiple impacts detected on Earth. Mass casualties reported in Seoul, Beijing, New York, Lagos. The bridge erupted in chaos as view screens showed live feeds of destruction. Massive asteroids, each precisely targeted at Earth's most populated regions, had somehow bypassed the planet's early warning systems. The impacts kicked up dust clouds that were already beginning to block the sun. "How is this possible?" E. whispered, watching helplessly as fires spread across her hometown. "Our detection grid should have spotted these weeks ago." Kim was already reviewing sensor data, his fingers flying across holographic displays. "These weren't natural trajectories," he said, voice hollow with realization. "The asteroids were redirected recently. Their paths were artificially altered to avoid detection until it was too late." As the Harmony raced toward Earth, they received thousands of distress calls. The impacts had been strategically placed to maximize casualties while leaving just enough infrastructure to ensure torturous survival for the remaining population. It wasn't extinction, it was subjugation through suffering. Aboard an emergency orbital platform above what remained of the Korean peninsula, Kim worked feverishly to gather evidence. Earth's space forces were in disarray, their command structure decimated by the precise targeting of military headquarters. Survivors reported strange alien craft briefly visible near Earth's asteroid detection satellites just before the attack. "It doesn't make sense," Admiral Ryu insisted during an emergency meeting with what remained of Earth's leadership. "Why would the Council attack us now? We posed no threat." But Kim had found something, communication fragments captured by a deep space relay. Using decryption algorithms, he pieced together a disturbing conversation between Council members. "Listen to this," he said, playing the translated audio. "The humans advance too quickly. Their propensity for adaptation makes them unpredictable. The predecessor equations are clear. They must be contained now before they realize their potential. The Council cannot risk another awakening." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Council hadn't attacked out of hatred or fear of current human behavior. They had acted based on some calculation about humanity's future development. In the days that followed, as dust clouds darkened Earth's skies and the death toll climbed. Past 1 billion, survivors gathered in underground facilities and remaining orbital platforms. Food supplies dwindled. Medical resources were stretched beyond capacity. Aid ships from non-council worlds were mysteriously delayed or rerouted. Kim continued gathering evidence, working with the few remaining satellite arrays and deep space probes. When a small diplomatic vessel from the Centaurian Alliance requested emergency landing at their facility, he was immediately suspicious. The alien diplomat, Toll, was clearly dying, his four-lunged respiratory system failing from some unknown toxin. "I come to confess," he gasped to Ambassador Day and Director Kim. "7 council members authorized this atrocity. They fear what your species will become. An ancient algorithm predicts humans will eventually challenge the established order of space-time itself." "Who?" Day demanded, grief making her voice sharp. "Give us names." Toll transferred a data crystal before his life support failed. The crystal contained not just names but locations, security protocols, and movement patterns of the 7 council members who had voted to contain humanity. In a hardened bunker beneath the ruins of Busan, remaining military and civilian leaders gathered around a holographic display showing the faces of those responsible. The room was cold, both in temperature and resolve. These beings had caused the deaths of billions because of a prediction algorithm. "We were never going to be accepted as equals," Admiral Ryu said quietly, "no matter what we achieved." "Then, we will show them exactly what humans are capable of," Director Kim replied, activating a second hologram showing Earth's remaining military assets. "They attacked us because they fear what we might become. Let's show them they were right to be afraid." The orbital laboratory spun slowly against the backdrop of a wounded Earth, its windows offering a constant reminder of the catastrophe below. Dr. Lee worked through another sleepless cycle, her eyes burning as she analyzed the asteroid fragments, collected by automated drones. Something about the impact patterns had bothered her from the beginning. The precision was too perfect, the timing too convenient. "Run Simulation Series 12 again," she instructed the lab's AI system. Holographic projections filled the cramped space around her, showing trajectory paths of the asteroids that had devastated her planet. The lab's remaining power fluctuated, causing the images to flicker ominously. "Asteroids don't change course mid-flight," she muttered, tracing her finger along one particular path. "Not unless something pushes them." The door to the lab slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Commander Song entered, his uniform rumpled from too many days of continuous wear. Dark circles under his eyes matched Lee's own. "Any progress?" he asked, handing her a steaming cup of synthetic coffee, a luxury in these desperate times. Lee accepted the cup gratefully. "Look at this," she said, expanding one section of the hologram. All 5 major asteroids adjusted their trajectories within the same 40-minute window 3 days before impact. "Natural objects don't coordinate." Commander Song frowned, studying the data. "Could be coincidence. Space debris affects flight paths all the time." "Not like this," Lee insisted, pulling up another display showing chemical analysis. "And I've found trace elements in the fragments, specifically residue consistent with propulsion technology used by the Arcturus Federation. They're council members." Song's expression hardened. "That's a serious accusation, Doctor. Half our population is dead or dying. If we start throwing blame at the council without absolute proof, what more proof do you need?" Lee snapped, emotions finally breaking through her scientific detachment. "My entire family was in Seoul when it hit. You think I want this to be true? That I want to believe advanced species capable of—" Her voice broke. Song placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "I need more than patterns and trace elements before I tell what's left of our government that this was a deliberate attack. The diplomatic fallout alone could—" A priority alert cut him off mid-sentence. "Emergency landing request from Centaurian. Diplomatic vessel," announced the station's communication system. "Medical emergency declared." Lee and Song exchanged puzzled glances. The Centaurians, while not openly hostile to humans, had always maintained careful distance from Earth affairs. 30 minutes later, they stood in the station's small medical bay, watching Dr. Jin work frantically to stabilize the Centaurian diplomat. The alien's normally iridescent skin had dulled to a sickly grey, its 4 breathing sacs laboring visibly beneath transparent membranes. Poisoned, Dr. Jin said grimly. Something targeting their specific biology. I can't counter it. The Centaurian, who had identified himself as diplomatic envoy Toll, gestured weakly for Li and Song to approach. His translator device sputtered with failing power. Must speak, the mechanical voice rendered. Conscience cannot bear. Li leaned closer, medical sensors beeping ominously around them. What is it? What do you know about the attacks? Toll's compound eyes fixed on hers with startling intensity. Not natural disaster. 7 council members. Special session. They voted. Earth deemed evolutionary risk. Song's face paled. You're saying the council deliberately attacked Earth? Why? Fear, translated the device as Toll's breathing grew more labored. Ancient prediction algorithms. Human potential. Unbounded. Last species with this marker. Nearly destroyed galaxy. With trembling limbs, Toll extracted a small crystalline object from a pouch in his environmental suit. Evidence, names, defense systems. The translator crackled. My people, not involved. Some of us disagreed. Dr. Jin moved forward urgently. He's crashing. I need space to work. But Toll's grip tightened on Li's wrist. One more thing. They believe mission successful. Do not know. Humans survive. Your advantage, surprise. His final words faded as his life signs plummeted. Despite Dr. Jin's efforts, the Centaurian diplomat died minutes later. Another casualty in a war humanity hadn't known it was fighting. In the station's secure communications room, Li and Song reviewed the contents of Toll's crystal. The data was comprehensive. Verification of the Council's secret vote, technical specifications of the asteroid manipulation, and most importantly, detailed information about the 7 Council species who had orchestrated Earth's devastation. The Phi, Arcturus Federation, the Regelian Compact, the Sirius Consortium? Song read aloud, scrolling through the list. All major powers within the Council. Li studied the technical data with growing anger. They used gravitational tractor beams to adjust the asteroid's paths, subtle enough that our detection systems registered the objects as natural until it was too late. A priority communication interrupted them, a heavily encrypted channel from Earth's underground command center in what remained of Busan. Admiral Ryu's face appeared on screen, the bunker's emergency lighting casting harsh shadows across his features. Commander Song, Dr. Li, he acknowledged grimly. We've been trying to reach you. Our long-range sensors detected your Centaurian visitor. Song nodded. Sir, we have critical information. The asteroid impacts weren't natural. We have proof the Galactic Council authorized a deliberate attack on Earth. For a moment, only static answered them. Then Ryu's voice, deadly calm. Transmit everything. Now. Hours later, Li and Song stood before a holographic meeting of Earth's surviving leadership. Military commanders, scientists, and what remained of the civilian government. Their orbital laboratory's communication system strained to maintain the multiple secure connections. The evidence is conclusive, Director Kim stated after reviewing the Centaurians' data. 7 council species conspired to cripple Earth, killing billions based on some prediction algorithm, claiming we might one day become a threat. But why now? Asked Defense Minister Kwan. We've barely begun establishing colonies in our own solar system. We're centuries from posing any real challenge to council powers. Dr. Li stepped forward. According to the data, that's exactly why they struck now. The algorithm predicted that once humans expanded beyond our solar system, our rate of advancement would accelerate exponentially. They wanted to contain us before that happened. The implications hung heavy in the silence that followed. Humanity had been judged and condemned not for anything they had done, but for what some alien equation predicted they might become. They think we're finished, Commander Song said, breaking the silence. The Centaurian diplomat confirmed they believed their attack was successful enough to permanently cripple our species' development. A cold, determined expression settled on Admiral Ryu's face. Then we have one advantage left, surprise. They won't be expecting any response from a broken world. As the meeting continued, plans forming in hushed, determined voices, Dr. Lee looked out the laboratory window at the dust-shrouded Earth below. The aliens had miscalculated. They had studied human technology, human biology, human history, but they had fundamentally misunderstood human nature. They didn't realize that backing humans into a corner was the surest way to trigger not surrender, but the most dangerous response of all. Nothing to lose ingenuity. The underground bunker beneath Busan had never been meant to house this many people for this long. The air recyclers hummed constantly, struggling to keep up with demand. General Park walked through the crowded main hall, nodding to engineers and technicians who barely looked up from their work. Everyone understood what was at stake. "Progress report," Park demanded, as he entered the repurposed mining vessel that now served as their primary testing facility. The ship's hull had been reinforced with salvaged materials, its interior gutted and rebuilt for a purpose its designers never imagined. Engineer Han looked up from a complicated array of wiring and crystalline components. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool temperature. "We've successfully integrated the alien power core with our propulsion system. Efficiency is up by 340%. "Will it hold?" Park asked, running his hand along the modified hull plating. "It'll hold," Han confirmed, though dark circles under his eyes betrayed weeks of sleepless nights. "The real question is whether we can replicate it for all 27 ships in time." On the other side of the vessel, Weapons Specialist Bay carefully calibrated what appeared to be a standard Earth mining laser. Except this one had been modified using technology reverse-engineered from a downed Council patrol ship that had crashed during the asteroid impact. "The focusing crystal cracked during the last test," she informed Park without looking up. "I've replaced it with one of the Arcturus crystals. Should increase penetration capability by at least 60%. Park nodded, satisfied. "And the shields?" "That's where we got lucky," Han said, gesturing for Park to follow him to a holographic display. "Remember those Proxima tourists who visited Earth last year? The ones who were so fascinated by our primitive neural patterns? The ones who scanned half our population for their xenobiology research," Park recalled. "Exactly. Captain Choi discovered something incredible about those scans." Han brought up complex neural mapping diagrams. "Our brains operate on frequencies the Council species consider random noise. Their systems are programmed to filter it out." Park's eyes widened with understanding. "Their defense systems won't detect our ships because they're literally programmed to ignore human thought patterns. As long as we use neural interfaces instead of standard computers for navigation and targeting," Han confirmed, "it's like we're ghosts to their sensors." In another section of the underground complex, Admiral Ryu watched as pilots trained on simulators designed to mimic Council ships. The learning curve was steep. Alien technology operated on principles fundamentally different from human engineering. But necessity had made quick students of them all. "Again," Ryu ordered as a pilot simulation ended in failure. "Sirius vessels have that blind spot in their aft sensor array. Use it." The pilot, exhausted but determined, nodded and reset the simulation. Nobody complained about the grueling training schedule. Everyone had lost someone in the attack. Director Kim entered the training area, datapad in hand. "The last of the orbital platforms has been converted for our purposes," he reported. "Earth now appears to have no functioning military satellites, just as they would expect after the attack." "And our actual capabilities?" Ryu asked quietly. 27 combat-capable vessels hidden in asteroid debris fields, 9 orbital platforms, with stealth capabilities, all with weapons that theoretically can penetrate Council shields. Kim's expression remained grim. "It's not much against 7 advanced civilizations. It's not about matching their numbers," Ryu replied. "It's about striking where they're vulnerable and disappearing before they can respond." In the medical wing, Dr. Jin had made a discovery that changed their entire strategy. She demonstrated for Park and Ryu, injecting a volunteer with a compound derived from the Centaurian diplomat's blood. Their biological weapons are designed to target specific DNA patterns, she explained as holographic displays showed the compound bonding with human cells. "This creates a temporary shell around our genetic markers, makes us register as non-sentient organisms on their bioscanners. How long does it last? Park asked. 4 hours, reliably, Jin replied. 6 at the absolute maximum. After that, the disguise breaks down rapidly, Ryu nodded thoughtfully. Long enough for infiltration teams to get in and out. In the communications hub, technicians had repurposed salvaged Council technology to intercept transmissions across the galaxy. Most were indecipherable, but occasionally they captured something useful. Ship movements, security rotations, supply, schedules they're celebrating, said Communications Officer Min with barely contained fury, removing her headset after a long monitoring session. The Rigelian homeworld is holding a restoration celebration, marking the containment of Earth's destabilizing influence on galactic harmony. Park's jaw tightened. Record everything. We'll need to know exactly where their leadership will be. At night, or what passed for night in the windowless bunker, Park often found himself in the strategic planning room, studying holographic projections of the 7 Council homeworlds. Each was heavily defended, with fleets that dwarfed Earth's. Remaining capabilities. Impossible odds, said a voice behind him. Captain Choi entered carrying 2 cups of synthetic coffee. Park accepted one gratefully. Remember the Battle of Myongyang? Admiral Yi faced 333 Japanese ships with just 13 of his own. Choi nodded, and won. But that was different. He knew the waters, used the currents. And we know something our enemies don't realize, Park replied. They've forgotten war. For 10,000 years they've lived in peace enforced by council, decree. Their weapons are powerful, but their tactics are thousands of years old. Their defense systems are designed to counter threats they understand. And they don't understand humans, Choi finished the thought. Exactly. Park manipulated the hologram, highlighting 7 specific locations across the different worlds. They don't understand that humans, when pushed to the edge of extinction, don't just lie down and die. They fight with everything they have left. In the fabrication bay, the first fleet of modified ships neared completion. Their hulls bore no markings, their shapes a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology. Engineer Han supervised as the final weapon systems were installed on the flagship, a vessel they had named Vengeance. Will it be enough? Han asked quietly as Park inspected the completed ship. Park didn't answer immediately. The truth was, nobody knew. They were attempting something unprecedented, a simultaneous strike against 7 advanced civilizations by the remnants of a nearly destroyed world. It has to be, he finally said. We have one chance, one surprise attack before they realize. Humans survived with enough capability to strike back. As the day of launch approached, the bunker hummed with nervous energy. Pilots ran final simulations, infiltration teams memorized their objectives, engineers triple-checked every system. No mistakes, General Park told his assembled officers during the final briefing. Every ship, every team must succeed. We cannot match them in numbers or raw power, but we have something they don't. What's that? Asked Captain Choi. Park's eyes were cold with resolve. They've never fought for survival. We have nothing left to lose. The Vengeance emerged from hyperspace silently, its modified engines leaving no trace signature that Council sensors could detect. Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge, her uniform crisp despite the weeks of preparation. Through the view screen, the Rigelian homeworld glowed blue-green against the blackness of space, its 3 moons creating a perfect triangular formation that occurred once every 80 years. The celebration would be at its peak now. Status report, Yoon ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of what they were about to attempt. All ships have emerged at designated coordinates, Lieutenant J reported from the tactical station. Neural interfaces functioning at optimal levels. Council defense grid shows no indication they've detected us. Across the massive view screen, tactical displays showed 6 other locations where Earth vessels had simultaneously appeared near their targets. The Arcturus Federation capital, the Sirius Consortium homeworld, and the 4 other Council species who had voted for Earth's destruction. 27 ships against the combined might of 7 galactic powers. The Rigelian defense grid is cycling, Jay continued, monitoring the alien systems. Security protocols indicate they're running standard maintenance during the celebration. Planetary shields at minimum power. Yoon nodded. Perfect timing. Deploy infiltration teams. Below decks, Captain Gill led his team to the launch bay, where specialized pods waited. Each soldier had been injected with Dr. Jin's compound, temporarily, masking their human genetic signatures. Their combat suits, salvaged and modified from Council peacekeeping forces, would complete the disguise. "Remember," Gill told his team as they prepared to launch, "we're not here for revenge, we're here for justice. Civilian targets are off-limits. Our objectives are military installations, defense grids, and government centers only." The pods launched. Silently, their hulls treated with the same stealth technology as the larger vessels. As they descended toward the Rigelian capital, Gill marveled at the irony. The celebration lights illuminating the city made perfect landing beacons for their approach. On the Vengeance, Yoon watched as similar scenes played out across all 7 targets. The timing had to be perfect, a synchronized strike designed to prevent any world from warning the others. "First phase complete," Jay reported, as the infiltration teams confirmed successful landings. Proceeding to Phase 2. The Vengeance moved into position above the Rigelian planetary defense grid's main control node, a massive orbital platform shaped like a crystalline snowflake. 2 escort ships broke formation, positioning themselves beside the platform's emergency thrusters. "Target locked," Weapons Officer Huan announced. "Modified mining lasers charged at maximum capacity." Yoon took a deep breath. Once they fired, there would be no going back. Fire. The focused beam struck with surgical precision, slicing through shields calibrated to stop weapons the Council understood. The alien materials, never designed to withstand Earth's modified technology, failed. Instantly. On the planet's surface, Gill's team moved through the capital city's governmental district. Rigelians, tall, 6-limbed beings with carapace-covered bodies, rushed past them in celebration, not sparing a glance for what they assumed were fellow Council security forces. "Primary target acquired," Gill whispered into his neural link. The Central Defense Ministry rose before them, a twisting spire of living crystal that housed the controls for the planet's military infrastructure. Instead of attacking head-on, they followed the plan developed by studying Rigelian architectural patterns. Every Council species had blind spots in their security, concepts they couldn't imagine needing to defend against. "Maintenance access point located," Team Member Kang reported, identifying an unguarded service entrance. In a society without war for millennia, the concept of infiltration had been forgotten. Security focused on accidents and natural disasters, not deliberate sabotage. As Gill's team penetrated the Defense Ministry, similar scenes unfolded across the 7 worlds. Human strike teams, genetically disguised and equipped with technology the Council never imagined they possessed, systematically disabled military communications, weapon platforms, and fleet coordination centers. In orbit, above the Sirius Consortium homeworld, Commander Day's vessel executed a maneuver that Syrian tactical computers classified as irrational, diving directly into the firing arc of their most powerful defense platform. The Syrian computers, programmed with perfect logical responses, activated their main weapon array, only to have Commander Day's ship disappear from sensors at the last second. "Neural mimicry successful," Day's tactical officer reported with grim satisfaction. "Their targeting systems filtered us out as anomalous data." The Syrian defense platform, having discharged its main weapons at a phantom target, entered its mandatory 2-minute cooling cycle, exactly as Earth intelligence had predicted. Day's ship reappeared directly alongside the platform, attached. Magnetic grapples and Special Forces teams cut their way inside. 15 minutes into the operation, the first signs of organized resistance appeared. The Arcturus Federation, with their hive-mind communication system, began to realize something was wrong when several nodes went silent simultaneously. "Arcturus vessels mobilizing," Jay reported to Admiral Yoon. "They're attempting to warn the other Council worlds." "Initiate communication blackout," Yoon ordered. Across the 7 targeted systems, Earth vessels activated specialized transmitters that flooded all communication frequencies, with noise patterned on human neural signatures, indecipherable static, to council systems designed to filter out such random patterns. The council worlds, accustomed to instantaneous galactic communication, suddenly found themselves isolated, each dealing with an unprecedented crisis they couldn't understand or coordinate against. On the Rigelian homeworld, Gil's team reached the central control chamber of the Defense Ministry. Rather than destroying it, they executed the next phase of the plan, uploading a virus designed by Earth's best programmers, incorporating elements of council code with uniquely human logical structures. Upload complete, Gil reported. Defense. Grid now under our control. Similar reports flowed in from the other worlds as Earth forces, operating with precision timing impossible for species that had forgotten the necessities of combat, systematically neutralized military capabilities without a single civilian casualty. In the Rigelian capital's Grand Plaza, the celebration continued uninterrupted, the civilian population entirely unaware that their world's defenses had been completely disabled. Only when the Vengeance appeared in the sky above the celebration, its running lights deliberately visible, did the crowd fall silent in confusion and growing fear. Admiral Yoon's face appeared on every communication screen. Throughout the capital, people of Rigel, she announced, her voice translated into the local language. Your government participated in an unprovoked attack on Earth that killed billions of innocent humans. We have disabled your military capabilities, but we have not harmed your civilian population. We are not monsters, unlike those who ordered our destruction. Across 7 worlds simultaneously, similar announcements played as the truth of the Council's treachery was revealed to populations that had been told Earth's devastation was a natural disaster. The 7 Council members responsible have been taken into custody, Yoon continued. They will face justice for their crimes. This is not an invasion or occupation. This is accountability. 72 hours after the operation began, it was complete. 7 of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had been neutralized without a single civilian death. The Council members who had ordered Earth's destruction were in custody, being transported back to the planet they had tried to destroy. Mission complete, Jay reported as the Vengeance prepared to return to Earth. All objectives achieved. Admiral Yoon nodded, allowing herself the first real breath since the operation began. Now comes the hard part, she said quietly, showing the galaxy what justice really looks like. The makeshift courtroom had been constructed in what was once Seoul's central plaza. Now it stood surrounded by asteroid debris and half-collapsed buildings, a deliberate choice to ensure the accused faced the consequences of their actions firsthand. A transparent dome protected the proceedings from the dust-filled atmosphere, allowing weak sunlight to filter through onto the 7 council members who sat in specially designed containment chairs. High Judge Kang walked slowly to her position, her black robes a stark contrast to the grey destruction visible through the dome. The courtroom fell silent as she took her seat. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the observer galleries, some attending in person, others present via holographic projection. This was, without question, the most widely witnessed trial in galactic history. This court is now in session, Kang announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We gather to judge those accused of crimes against humanity and violations of galactic law. The 7 council members, each representing a different species, presented a remarkable collection of alien physiologies. The Rigelian representative's carapace clicked nervously. The Syrian delegate's crystalline form refracted light in agitated patterns. The Arcturian High Minister, a gaseous being contained within an environmental suit, pulsed with indignation. You have no authority, the Arcturian stated, its translated voice echoing through the chamber. Humans are a probationary species. This proceeding violates council protocol. Judge Kang's expression remained impassive. The authority of this court derives from universal principles of justice that precede and supersede your counsel. The evidence will be presented. Director Kim stepped forward as chief prosecutor. The wounds on his face from the asteroid impact had healed into scars that pulled at his features. We will demonstrate that the accused, acting in secret and against the Council's own laws, authorized an attack against Earth with the explicit intention of preventing human advancement within the galactic community. Throughout the next 3 days, Kim methodically presented the evidence. The Centaurian diplomat's testimony recorded before his death, navigation data from the redirected asteroids, secret communication logs obtained during the strike operation, and finally, the ancient predictive algorithm that had labeled humanity a potential evolutionary risk. This algorithm, Kim explained, displaying the complex equations, categorized humans as dangerous not because of any aggressive action, but because our neural patterns suggested we might eventually develop capabilities the Council could not control. The Syrian delegate's crystalline form flickered, with what might have been embarrassment. The predecessor equations have protected galactic stability for 50,000 years. The potential risks. Did those equations predict you would murder billions based on a potential future that might never occur? Kim asked sharply. Outside the courtroom, Earth's surviving population watched the proceedings on whatever screens remained functional. In underground shelters and refugee camps, humans gathered to witness justice being sought for their dead. The trial was not just about punishment. It represented humanity's declaration that they would not be silently erased from the galaxy. On the trial's 4th day, the defense presented their case. The Council members argued that they had acted to preserve galactic stability, that the predecessor equations had never been wrong, that humanity's unchecked development presented an existential threat to established order. The equations predicted with 97.3% certainty that within 1,200 years, humans would develop capabilities that could destabilize the fundamental forces holding the galaxy together, the Rigelian representative insisted. Judge Kang leaned forward. And did these equations suggest mass murder as the solution? They indicated containment was necessary, the Rigelian replied, compound eyes shifting uncomfortably. Containment, Kang repeated, an interesting euphemism for the death of billions. Throughout the galaxy, species that had always accepted Council authority without question began to wonder what predictions the predecessor equations might hold for them. If humans could be contained for their potential future, who else might be deemed a threat? On the final day of the trial, Admiral Yoon testified about the precision of Earth's retaliatory strike. We disabled their military capabilities without a single civilian casualty, she stated firmly. We could have destroyed their worlds as they tried to destroy ours. We chose justice instead of vengeance. The contrast was not lost on the watching galaxy. Humans, labeled as primitive and dangerously unpredictable, had shown more restraint than the supposedly advanced Council members. As the trial neared its conclusion, the 7 defendants were given a final opportunity to address the court. The Arcturian High Minister spoke for them all. We acted according to 50 millennia of wisdom, encoded in the predecessor equations, the gaseous being pulsed. We regret the loss of life but maintain that our actions preserved greater galactic stability. Judge Kang's gaze swept across the defendants. Your regret means nothing to our dead. Your equations failed to account for the most fundamental aspect of humanity, our capacity for both justice and mercy, even in the face of unimaginable loss. The verdict, when it came, surprised no one. Guilty on all counts. The sentence, however, shocked the galaxy. The traditional penalty for mass extinction events under Council law is molecular dispersal, Judge Kang noted. However, this court sentences you instead to lives of restoration. You will spend the remainder of your natural lives helping to rebuild what you destroyed. Murmurs spread through the observation gallery. The Council members stared in confusion. You will live among us, Kang continued. You will breathe our dust-filled air, drink our contaminated water, and work alongside the survivors of your attack. You will experience firsthand the consequences of decisions made from the sterile comfort of Council chambers. The Syrian delegate's crystalline form vibrated in what might have been disbelief. You're showing mercy. No, Judge Kang replied, her voice firm. We're showing you what humanity truly is, not what your equations predicted we might become. Living among us will be a harsher punishment than a quick death could ever be. In the following months, representatives from worlds throughout the galaxy arrived on Earth, some offering assistance in rebuilding, others seeking to establish new alliances with the species that had brought the Council to its knees. The Galactic Order was reshaping itself. In a meeting room overlooking the reconstruction of Sol, Director Kim met with delegates from 12 previously marginalized species. The Council's authority was built on the myth of their perfect judgment. A representative from the Tau Ceti worlds observed, "You've shattered that myth." "What happens now?" asked another delegate. "The Council has maintained stability for 50,000 years." Kim looked out at the construction crews, human and alien working side by side. Among them, he could see the distinctive forms of the convicted council members, laboring under guard, to clear debris. "Now we build something better," he replied, "a galactic community based not on fear of what might be, but on respect for what is. Earth almost died because of predictions about what humans might become. We won't make the same mistake with others." As the meeting concluded, Kim received word that the first new orbital defense platform had become operational, built with a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology freely shared by Earth's new allies. The galaxy would remember that humans, when pushed to the edge of extinction, had not only survived, but had transformed galactic politics forever. Not through the destructive potential the predecessor equations had feared, but through something the Council had never predicted: the power of justice tempered with mercy. The end.